Thank you. We can see the slides. Can you
Okay.
please use the presentation mode?
Yeah, I think it's coming.
Yes, wonderful.
Thank you very much. In this presentation, I'd like to argue the necessity of regional circular economy policy and propose some elements of regional circular economy policy in Southeast and East Asia. Circular economy policies have been adopted by East Asian countries since around 1990. They focusing on the recycling at that time and gradually extend some other elements such as reuse and also reduction. And Southeast Asian countries also started to adopt circular economy policy since 2001. One of the earliest regulation was the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act, which was already mentioned by Gregorio in the previous presentation. And some other countries like Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia also made some regulation to apply EPL or promote recycling. And also Thailand and Malaysia is developing the draft regulation on e-waste recycling, which are in the process of the final approval, as far as I know. So many countries in ASEAN and East Asia try to adopt the circular economy policy. But there is no coordination or harmonization in harmonization mechanism in the region. I'd like to show the necessity of the regional circular economy policy for Southeast and East Asia. Most of Southeast Asian countries have high trade dependency rate, which is share of export and import in GDP. Trade dependency rate of Singapore, Vietnam, Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Brunei are more than 100%, which indicate that the kind of when they try to make a closed loop for recycling or remanufacturing the use, they may need a kind of international trade of recycled waste or some recycled kind of the materials for input to some production or second-hand goods for the remanufacturing. So to make a smooth kind of a transboundary kind of the circular economy in the region, we should harmonize a kind of a design for recycling, industrial standard for recycled products, and the import restriction on recycled waste and second-hand goods. One of the example of the good practices beyond the border was the loop beyond the border was Fuji Xerox copying machine case. Fuji Xerox, the copying machine producers, which made the Fuji Xerox eco manufacturing kind of a regional recycling plant in Thailand. They import the used waste copying machine from these countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Southeast Asian countries, and Australia, New Zealand, Republic of Korea to the Thailand. And in Thailand, they dismantle it, and most of the recyclable waste are recycled in Thailand. And some of the recyclable waste which cannot be recycled in Thailand were sent to Japan, and also some residuals of waste are sent to Japan for disposal. So such kind of good practice was occurred, established by the company itself. And this initiative got several awards in the region, like from the Japan, Hong Kong, Thailand, and also Singapore. But they closed the factory in 2019 after Thailand made stricter regulation on the import of e-waste. So they closed the factory and they tried to have a kind of a contractor of recyclers in each countries. Okay. Uh, Based on the trade matrix, the intra-regional trade of East and Southeast Asia reached about 40% in export and 47% in import. It is lower than EU, but similar to the free trade agreement among United States, Canada, and Mexico. So it might be good for us to formulate a kind of a regional circular economy policy to promote circular economy in the region because our kind of supply chains beyond the border. So and there are some elements of the regional circular economy policy. The first one is a design for recycling. One of the best practices of the design for recycling is a guideline of design for PET bottles developed by Japan's Council for PET Bottle Recycling, which is a kind of industrial association to promote PET bottle recycling. They revise and add some elements in the past. They gradually develop the guideline, the expanded guideline. And for example, they prohibit the use of the colored PET for PET bottles because limited demand of waste colored PET. I show the table here. You can see that the colored PET bottles, the price is low. This price is the buying price of PET bottle by the Waste Bank in Indonesia and junk shop in Thailand. So the colored PET bottles do not have much demand. So the price of the buying price of PET bottle is lower for colored one. And the next one is industrial standard for recycled products. Japan and Malaysia have some kind of the industrial standards for recycled products. Some of the recycled products cannot satisfy the conventional industrial standards. So they need some kind of the specific standard for recycled products. So such kind of standards can be utilized in the the negotiation of the trade buy and sell of the products. And also Malaysia also utilize, or Malaysia and Japanese government also utilize these kind of industrial standards in the public procurement. So our goods are traded among our region and also sometimes beyond the border. We need to make a kind of a harmonization of these kind of industrial standards. The third one is import restriction on recyclable waste. As I mentioned in the Fujisarox case, the import restriction may become obstacles to organize a good recycling program, especially in small countries, including the small island countries in the Pacific or some other countries, they may not have a kind of recyclers nor the producers using recycled materials. Ban on import of recycled waste may, become obstacles to have a recycling program in small countries. But we also should attention about the improper international trade of recyclable waste. So appropriate regulation on international trade of recyclable waste should be formulated to reduce the improper trade of the recyclable waste, but to increase the recycling in this region and the world. I think we should take into account the quality of recycled waste and also the level of enforcement of the pollution control to the recycling factories. Depending on the quality of waste and depending on enforcement of pollution control, governments choose appropriate trade regulation to reduce the risk of pollution and to promote investment in environment sound recycling.
1 minute, please.
So, yeah, waste are not contaminated or no hazardous substances or pollution control regulation is well enforced. The countries then some of the cleaned plastic waste can be imported without any regulations, any restrictions. But hazardous, some the recycled waste with hazardous substances or with contamination, you can control by the prior import concept or import license system or prohibit import of these kind of materials. So depending on the quality and enforcement of pollution control, you can, identify proper control. And I skip this one. To have a harmonization of the design for recycling or industrial standard for recycled products or trade regulations, we should have a good platform to negotiate such kind of standard or regulations. So we can learn good initiative from EU or North America. Anyway, we should make a good kind of platform to negotiate the harmonization of the industrial standards or design for recycling and trade regulations. So yeah, that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kojima, for this important and also practical presentation, connecting well to the discussion in the panel discussion just a few minutes earlier. So without further ado, let me introduce our discussion for this session. Dr. Lerman Liu is the founding director of STEM platform and founding director of Circular Economy Accelerator. She specializes in business development and education in emerging technologies, circular economy, and sustainability. She focuses on strategic development, assessment, and support of emerging technologies such as nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, and applications in all sectors. She has 20 years of practice in global business development, in strategic partnership and communication and marketing. Please, the floor is yours. Mr. Kojima, can you kindly stop sharing your screen?
Hi, good afternoon. I think I have a presentation pre-recorded. Can the organizer play my presentation, please? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Our world's economy has been growing, driven by increasingly globalized supply chain. Let us follow the life cycle of a cotton t-shirt. China is by far the world's largest textile producer and exporter. Cotton is the dominant raw material in textile. China and India produce most of the cotton and yarn. Global brands in the developed world produce most of their textiles and apparel items in China and other developing countries to lower the cost of production, to make their products more affordable for consumers to buy and consume more. Every year, an estimated 92 million tons of textile waste is being generated globally. Only 12% of materials used in textiles are recycled. Most of the textile waste has ended in landfill and in incinerators. Most of our waste was shipped to China until 2018, when China enacted the national soil policy to ban 24 categories of waste. Most countries worldwide have to deal with their own waste now. And we are facing challenges in waste management, such as infrastructure, capacity, and capabilities in both developed and developing economies. Coupled with the climate crisis, social disparity, and COVID-19 pandemic, we are now forced to change how we produce and consume products to lower greenhouse gas emissions, localize supply chains, and to produce jobs opportunities locally and reduce waste. Kojima-san's paper towards regional circular economy policy in ASEAN and East Asia is very timely. He gave an excellent overview of circular economy policy in the region and analyzed challenges the region is facing. He provided excellent recommendations for the acceleration of the regional and circular economy transformation through policy harmonization and intervention. His policy recommendations is spot on, including design for recycling and industrial standards for recycled products, improve the management of the transboundary movement of recyclable waste, develop a platform to discuss regional cooperations on circular economy policy, develop policy to enforce pollution control of recycling industry and quality control of international trade of recyclable products. To support the finding and recommendation of this paper, let me share our case study on Thailand's circular economy in partnership with NX Fuel under the Ministry of Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation, and the Thailand circular economy practitioners and business leaders. We have looked at the circular economy ecosystem in Thailand from policy regulation, community support platforms, industry practices, to research, innovation, and education. We spent the last 6 months analyzing Thailand's circular economy entrepreneurship ecosystem, focusing on textile, plastic, packaging, food and agriculture, building and construction. I have led a team of undergraduate and postgraduate students to conduct site visits, interview practitioners from SMEs, startups, and communities, as well as executives from large corporations and policymakers. We filmed and edited videos and post them on YouTube channel to show the action on how circularity is being practiced on the ground in Thailand. We conducted value chain and supply chain analysis, identified gaps and mechanisms of circularity practices, We provide recommendations on policy roadmap and policy framework for building circular economy entrepreneurship ecosystem. We organized the first circular economy business roundtable in Thailand last October, brought together business leaders from all sectors and conduct breakout sessions to allow business practitioners to give recommendations to the government. We also organized the Circular Economy Leadership and Partnership Summit in March, which is the first summit focusing on addressing the critical drivers for circular economy transition, including policy, technology, business innovation, and financing. In particular, policy sharing among Asian European countries have helped identifying mechanisms of success and failure and PPP practices. Let me share some of our key findings on circular economy ecosystem in Thailand. We have found that the SMEs, led by new generation foreign educated executives, is leading the way in all sectors: textile, plastic packaging, hospitality, buildings, etc. These entrepreneurs have the ambition to build an ASEAN circularity hub. Community eco-waste management is led by passionate women. And big corporations have set zero waste to landfill by 2030 and carbon neutral by 2050. The Sustainable Consumption and Production Network of Thailand, together with the Thailand Environmental Institute, connect the Thai industry and other stakeholders to drive circular economy and sustainable development agenda. Its main network include PPP Plastic Alliance, connects with the Federation of Thai Industry and Thailand Business Council for Sustainable Development. Thailand, over the last more than 10 years, has built a very strong LCA for sustainability impact assessment and have built a very unique and valuable national life cycle inventory database covering all sectors in Thailand and the ASEAN region. The government is very keen on taking leadership. It has supported the Circular Economy Accelerator Program started last year. It has been very keen in funding platforms, have developed funding programs to support indicators, startups, and other capability building projects. And of course, it was the sponsor for Circular Economy Leadership and Partnership Initiative. This is a roadmap we provided for the Thai government on circular economy. And this is an example of tables we provide in the gap analysis. We cover Thailand capability in contrast to international practice and identify the gaps in sectors such as, in areas such as legislation, policy and regulation, standardization, procurement, platform, partnerships, circularity by design, supply chain symbiosis design, technology, innovation and business model, financing, CE assessment and monitoring. We also use infographics to communicate circular economy supply chain in Thailand. And this infographic shows the textile and fashion value chain mapping of Thailand's textile supply chains. And we also use infographics to communicate some of the challenges that Thailand is facing in plastic circularity, for example. And we also conduct deep dive into different sectors, conducting gap analysis, covering regulation, infrastructure, and financial aspect. And we look at how they practice circularity, where to position the value chain of circularity, and also look at their business model. These are the textile value chain companies that we have mapped. We have put together a report for this study. We're building a regional and global network and partnerships with global players. Also, we published a textbook end of last year, and we are partnering with Springer Nature for the next book on circularity leadership to showcase leading practices globally in circular economy under the category of major reference works of Springer Nature. Now join us in our Circular Economy Accelerator to drive the global circular economy transformation through solution and partnerships. And of course, join our Knowledge Hub. And thank you for your attention. Please visit our website, steamplatform.org. Follow us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube, Steam Platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Liu, for that excellent pre-recorded presentation. And before opening the floor for Q&A from the floor, let me ask if Mr. Kojima, you would like to respond to Liu and see how we can really build these linkages, use the experience from different countries, use the different platforms, whether public or private, in moving forward with the agenda in the region.
Yeah, I think the Thailand has a good initiative to have a kind of a stakeholder dialogue within Thailand. You have a kind of industrial industries players, government, academics, NGOs. So you have a good kind of a network of them, and you also create a kind of a good knowledge on the data on the life cycle assessment and so on. So that is a kind of a good basis to evaluate your activities. I very appreciate such kind of effort in Thailand, but some other Asian countries not so much kind of a LCA database, life cycle assessment database, and so on. So it's very good to share your kind of experience to other countries also. In addition, I hope that Thailand also kind of lead some kind of a regional basis circular economy policy, because neighboring countries of Thailand, they may not have a good industries to recycle some of the recyclable waste, but Thailand has some technology and good companies also. I think it's good to think about how to make a kind of regional kind of a circular economy network in the region. Yeah, that is my kind of how to say a comment to the your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Would you like to respond, or we have some excellent questions from the audience as well?
I think we'll take the questions now.
Okay, very well.
Yeah.
Please.
Kojima and I think we're very much aligned in our goals.
Okay, very well. Let me move to the questions we have from the floor. And actually, earlier questions are also linked very well to the platform that we were told from Thailand. So there are two questions starting with. So is there a group hub in Southeast Asia, where innovative discussion on circular economy occurs, especially for SMEs? So we, of course, already know the work from Thailand, but are there other such groups in the region that people could use for inspiration? And then what could it take to transition business to prevent producing packaging that are not economically viable for recycling, for example, for colored plastic bottles?
Yeah, can I answer some of them?
Please.
Regarding the platform, there are some kind of a platform to share the good practices, like 3R and Circular Economy Forum for Asia and the Pacific. is a good kind of platform to share the good practices in the region, not only Southeast Asia but also East Asia and Southeast Asia and Pacific also. Yeah, that is one of the good platform, but we don't have a good kind of negotiation process to harmonize the standards or the harmonize the kind of ideas of the trade restriction and so forth. So yeah, we should develop the good platform to discuss more kind of a legal binding kind of the the agreement in the future. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that one. Ms. Lee, would you like to answer to that question
Yes.
as well?
I was just trying to type so I can do parallel processing. Actually, we are going to launch a knowledge platform website where you could actually upload your best practices and will be reviewed by experts and will be shared with the public. And we actually are building a global platform. So if you wish to collaborate, we would love to work with you to drive partnerships forward. I mean, this is really our circular economy leadership and partnership initiative is exactly for that. We share leadership practices on our YouTube channel and on our website, but at the same time we like to feature properly the case studies. So we are forming a advisory panel to assess these practices and to ensure they are truly circular, and then we will put them on our website and also put them in our publications as well.
Thank you. That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Mr. Koji,
yes.
please.
In addition, the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, we host the regional knowledge center for marine plastic debris issue. So we have some kind of website to share good practice related to plastic waste in the region of ASEAN +3. So you can check our website also.
Thank you. Mr. Kojima, in your excellent presentation, you noted that it is necessary to create a platform for international negotiations and to implement mechanism to really promote a circular economy in the region. So how can we really encourage the countries to take action, to collaborate? And which institution do you believe that will be best placed in supporting this?
Yeah, the probably platform is one of the possibilities ASEAN, of course, and the other is ASEAN +3, a kind of dialogue, and also RCEP, the new kind of trade agreement, may become a good platform to discuss. So that is ASEAN plus Japan, China, South Korea, Republic of Korea, and also Australia and New Zealand. So ASEAN +5 countries may have a good kind of platform to discuss the regional circular economy policy in the future.
Actually, sorry to interrupt. Kojima-san, I understand that Thailand is going to host the APEC summit next year. Would you have anything to suggest to the summit meeting? Perhaps we could put circular economy on the agenda.
APEC is very broad. And I'm not so sure we have a good agreement in the APEC. I mean, we can make a kind of sharing the good practices is a very good for APEC, but it might be a little bit difficult to harmonize something among the APEC countries. It is a little bit too large, and also the different kind of the background. That is my impression.
Well,
thank you.
We'll see how we. I think the Thai government is keen to promote their BCG initiative, the Bio-Circular Green Economy Initiative. I think they will probably take some action in this.
Yeah, good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I think it's really encouraging to see the number of countries in the region, in ASEAN, are getting more and more interested both promoting national efforts, national policies, strategies, laws to the circular economy, as well as considering different forums for collaborating and creating those important regional networks. As in the earlier panel discussion, there was the example of EU that there has been development at the regional level, but also requiring action at the national level to have concrete implementation plans in place as well. So both are very much needed. There are still some more questions from Monique Tropez. And if we still, I think we still have a little bit more time. So let me ask one question more. What are your insights on facilitating behavior change among the general public on single plastic use, for example, in wet markets or with single-use, fast-moving consumer goods?
Can I answer? Is it still okay?
We've just received all the notice that actually we may not have time for this discussion further. So unfortunately, so very interesting question, and we would have really much loved to hear for your answer to that one. So I believe it is my time and a pleasure to thank you all for participating in this session and really discussing on the options and possibilities and opportunities for us working together in the region to promote circular economy. So thank you, Mr. Kojima, and thank you very much, Dr. Liu. Thank you all the participants for attending this session.